The extra pressure. Let me ask first, please do not read this and respond with judgment, because that's really not what I am looking for. I already feel incredibly guilty and disgusted with myself about this whole situation, but I am here because I feel addicted and trapped in this affair. I have been with my husband for 7 years, recently married 5 months ago. He is an incredibly amazing man and has always been very good to me. However, since we got married in October, I hit a patch of significant depression, anxiety, and an identity crisis, debating if I made the wrong decision in marrying him. This coincided with a man I work with being flirtatious beginning in December, eventually asking for my number and starting up an affair with me. We hooked up at work in my office several times, adding an extra layer of risk to the whole thing. He is 10 years older than me, married with 3 kids. I have never done anything like this or imagined that I would be the kind of person who would. The best explanation I can give myself is that I feel like I've totally lost my mind, and that now I'm just watching myself wreck my life. The worst part is that I broke down at the end of January and told my husband. Even though I told him most of the details, I didn't want him to know it was someone I worked with. He ended up finding out anyway and asked for 100% honesty and a desire to use it as an opportunity to examine and improve our marriage and move on. I lasted about 4 days before I went back to the other man. Now I have been straddling this for about 2 months. My husband has forgiven me, wants to move on, but doesn't know I'm still in this full-fledged. The issue I'm having is that whenever I sit down and swear to myself that I need to end it with the OM, I have these extreme physical responses and panic attack type experiences. I've started drinking heavier than normal and even abusing meds to just try to take the edge off, but the only thing that seems to work is when I contact the other man. I am actually a mental health clinician and work in a substance abuse hospital, but cannot for the life of me practice what I preach. I will go all day trying to distract myself and stay busy, and then have this spark of temptation and suddenly find myself in a full-blown dirty convo with this guy. I recognize that leaving my husband may be the right choice, but I cannot even fathom doing this. I feel like I would be throwing away a very good, long, promising, and healthy relationship for what has been 3 months of total insanity. I am very close to his family too. I am definitely not in love with the OM, just obsessed with him, I think. On paper, it is ridiculous comparing the 2 men because my husband is definitely a better catch, but I just feel so much more passion with other man. It's like I'm an entirely different person physically. Since I told my husband in January, he has been encouraging me to follow those urges, but I just absolutely can't. I think partially because of the guilt, shame at this point. It's like I just have zero physical drive for my husband and all I want is this other man. But in every other way I want my husband. I just don't know what has come over me. My head says that I should stay in my marriage and work to repair it because I am so fortunate to have the husband I do. I am not entirely sure that I want to be married, but I also know that I don't think there's a better man out there for me. I have drunkenly begged my husband to divorce me, but he keeps asserting that he is faithful to working on repairing the marriage. I feel so guilty that I am just flat out abusing him. But I don't know that there's any way out of this without continuing to hurt him, by coming clean, again, or leaving. My way of dealing with it has just been to continue to hide this. Yes, I have been seeing a therapist and it is helpful, but I am just so worried I'm going to totally destroy my marriage, and even potentially career, before I get to the bottom of this. I have always considered myself a strong person, and this is so uncharacteristic. But I just feel like I'm watching myself and I have no control. As someone said, I really did come here looking for guidance and the brutal truth, reality of what I'm doing. If I didn't give a crap, I'd be out there just continuing what I'm doing and maintaining it for the next 5 years. It's more that I'm confused at why this is happening and how there has been such a marked shift in my character. I said it in my original post, but maybe it's something people wouldn't understand unless they have lived it. I really do just feel like I'm out of control and watching myself engage in this crap. I do recognize this as addiction. Maybe that's justifying or excusing horrific actions. Sure, it probably is. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. I'm going to write this post with brutal, disgusting honesty. Feel free to call me out on it. But I feel like there's nowhere else I can say things with 100% honesty. Yes, and I see to a certain extent. A lot of you pointed out that I'm in mental health and how I need to leave my job ASAP and discontinue work with my clients. I agree to some extent. I have felt, at a minimum, really distracted from my work in the last 3 months and have obviously not been dedicating 100% of my energy to their care. Instead, I find myself sitting in session daydreaming about the other man and wondering what kind of kinky texts are waiting on my phone. Is this wrong? Do I recognize it as a really significant problem? Of course, I sit there and tell myself to snap out of it and focus on my clients. But it's like my mind is stuck on this unhealthy loop 24/7. I could go into all the complicated reasons of why I can't leave my job so easily, but I'm sure it will sound like excuses. But let me say that I am definitely looking into options. I feel like a shell. Everything I used to value no longer seems to matter, and things I used to enjoy I have absolutely no interest in anymore. The only thing that seems to give me a spark is the other man. I said to my IC recently that he makes me feel like I'm alive. and the rest of my life just makes me feel stagnant and dead. Of course, I recognize these signs of depression and I'm going to a psych this week. I came here to see if anyone has ever felt this or has been able to successfully move past this feeling that life has completely lost its meaning. Yes, to everyone who pointed out that I'm an unpaid escort, prostitute, lay, I agree. The bottom line is, at least right now, I don't care. I don't care enough about myself, and I really don't care about him. To anyone who suggested I have a fantasy of running away with OM, I absolutely don't. At all. It's crossed my mind once or twice, but I do not have any feelings for him beyond the fact that he makes me feel alive physically, and I like that his is complimentary of me. So selfish, obviously. Everyone asking about my morals and how I could do this to my loving husband and other man's wife and 3 kids. I don't know. I obviously completely recognize this as egocentric behavior, just sacrificing and hurting everyone around for some kind of rush. I'm not stupid. I know that's what I'm doing. And I know it's cruel. I know it's hurtful. All the other words people used. Like I said though, I'm struggling to wrap my mind around why the fact suddenly I am throwing all my values out the window and I am dedicating more energy into actively hurting people, whereas I have lived my life and based my career around healing and helping people. I had been on vacation from work for the past week. Across the country, I had found myself texting other men all week long, more than my husband. Last night I got home and had 2 big crying, depression spells to my husband and almost confessed, again. Thank you to the support of this board. I decided that I need to first end it with other man, for good, before I talk to my husband about it. I do know that I need to confess it to my husband. I will, I suspect, by the time tomorrow is over. I just want to see other man tomorrow and discuss, and in person first. Can I promise this will happen? Not really. I still don't trust myself, but I'm hoping I can do it. See, I know I'm being played, but I also feel like I'm playing him back. It all goes back to that I don't care, disconnection from the world feeling. You guys can call it whatever you want, cruel, manipulative, cold, and yeah, I guess that's what it is. But like I said, I haven't always been this way. Truly, I have lost something in this fog and my struggle is how to get it back. That's why I'm here. I wrote this recently, about 3 weeks ago, just to give you a snapshot of what I'm thinking. Believe me, I'm not posting it for pity. I'm not looking for anyone to say, oh wow, I'm sorry you feel that way. In fact, gauging from the tone of this board, I can tell I will get a handful of good. You deserve to feel that way, you be, and that's fine. I know, just posting my frame of mind. I suppose it's not a bad idea to just sit down and start writing what I'm going through, because living in my head certainly isn't working. Maybe someday I'll look back on all of this and think, wow, that really made me a stronger person. But in the meantime, screw it. I feel pretty damn depressed, pretty damn anxious, and pretty damn disoriented. Everything feels pale. Everything feels like I am moving through a cloud, and I truly have to concentrate really hard to make any kind of facial expression. I have to say I'm putting on a good show. I'm not sure that the average person could tell how much I'm suffering emotionally, but maybe it's because I really became a master at hiding depression when I was younger. And now, that familiar feeling, if left to my own devices, I really just want to be alone. I just want to be silent, and I just don't want to think or emotionally connect to anything. It's exhausting. Being a decent human being is exhausting. Here I am in the field of mental health and saving the world, and maybe I recognize that's a big expectation to put on myself, obviously. But somewhere along the line I got it in my head that I guess that's what you're supposed to do when you grow up, save the world. Yet I wake up routinely and fantasize about working in some superficial job, making 3 times what I do now and just living a totally hedonistic life. Working in a skyscraper, maybe, wearing cute, expensive clothes and sleeping with my boss on lunch breaks. I guess chasing after that fantasy on some level is what brings me to writing this. I don't work in a skyscraper, and while I aim for cute clothes, they certainly aren't expensive. And the guy I was hooking up with wasn't my boss. I'm not sure what I was chasing after, but I found that viciously chasing after some selfish fantasy is a quick and fast way to lose your mind. At the end of the day, my fantasy took me out of that whole goal of being a decent human being ... and then I come back to that question. Do I even give a crap about being a decent human being? And what does that even mean? Is all of the moral discussion just relative ... and if it is, which I believe, relative to what? Up until this point, I feel like I've worked hard to really engage in a life of pro-social behavior and even preach it in really bull-crap terms. Like I believe in putting good energy out into the world. And then when I really think about it, I know I've been fortunate to be surrounded by a pretty decent community of people who like and respect me for all that and the good show that I put on. Maybe it was genuine. Maybe it was the true me. But now I feel like I've just totally lost any orientation of what the true me actually is. Living that way was emotionally challenging. And maybe it was boring. Maybe I don't want to be true or genuine. Because sometimes I'm just damn angry and want to rage revenge on the world. It's a combination of wanting to go out and create chaos and hurt and revenge. But I also just want to be emotionally isolated, unavailable, and alone. Maybe it's my primitive animal instinct. When animals are hurt, they retreat, shut down, and isolate with the goal of healing. They either heal or they suffer until they die. Maybe my fear is that my isolation would lead to death, either physical or emotional. But right now, I'm certainly building a wall, and I can't tell if it's to protect myself, to hide, or to just give myself excuses to run away. When I ask myself what I'm angry at, I don't really know. Then, maybe, I'm conflicted, because sometimes I feel like a victim, but other times I just want to surrender and be a victim. Be hurt, be alone, and be a victim, because at the end of the day I feel like that's what I deserve. Comment: you could be clinically diagnosed as a sociopath. That's a concept that unfortunately gets thrown around these days with far too much liberality. But you've admitted that you hold no respect or depth of feeling, even superficially, for any of the parties involved except for yourself, whom you've cast mentally as victim in this horrible situation. By all accounts, it seems to me that you measure the worth of individuals solely in terms of what they can provide for you. As an aside, I wonder more and more whether people like you that seem so psychologically unsound are taking up residence in that discipline to hide their nature and to learn effective camouflage. How have you functioned as a therapist at all? Or would it be a stretch to say that you understand very well why you did it? You just do not possess the language to pardon yourself in polite company. Did you get married and have children because you understood that it was expected of you to achieve a particular status as a woman in society? Do you enjoy therapy not because of the prospect of helping others, but because you delight at the idea of taking a person down to parts to see how they work? OP responds: I'm recognizing you guys are tough, and amidst all the language and character assassination, I recognize I get the language I deserve, and on some level, it's also what I came here for. Wasn't expecting pity or soothing. And the honesty of today will be no surprise to those of you who predicted my future. I neither told my husband nor ended it with other men. Nothing progressed one way or the other. I could lie and say I made the right choice and went to NC, quit my job, etc. That would be a waste of everyone's time, as it would just be a way for me to lie, deny and placate my issues in an anonymous forum. I figure I'm doing enough of that in my day-to-day life. I also don't want to get into a position to defend myself here because I know it's not the place, and I don't want to come off as making excuses or trying to justify anything. In fact, I agree with most of what everyone said here, except that I don't think, at my core, I am an immoral or irreversibly mentally ill person. And I feel it's particularly important to say that to anyone who has been on the other side and has dismissed their exes as evil or heartless. I'm not going to defend my actions, but I certainly want to highlight that I don't think cheating alone can dictate the depths of someone's character. Go ahead. Commence agree to disagree. Yes, I know I have hurt people, and even though OM's wife and children don't know at this stage, I feel awful that on a spiritual level I have really aggressively hurt them and stolen from them. I feel awful that I have abused my husband. Abused him. A man who said to me a few days ago, I just get sick of being the nice guy who gets screwed over in the end. And here I am adding to that. And believe me, I hate that I have done this. Not once, not twice, but deliberately, over and over, in my moments of sanity. Of course, I do feel awful about it because this is not who I am. However, in those moments that I can't explain at all, everything goes out the window. And like I've said, everything I value goes with it. And it's scary, and it's been the most horrific thing I have ever experienced. Yes, I make the choice. Obviously, no one is forcing me to do this. I am making the choice, and I repeatedly, minute to minute, feel like I'm looking at a crossroads at the most critical moment in my life. I could choose 1. Try to get back to the really good, healthy life that I was living 6 months ago, filled with healthy relationships and support and positive connection to my work. Or 2. Throw my hands up in the air, say I give up on everything, to include my marriage, my career, my friendships, my family, everything that I will lose over this one man, or string of men, who could give a crap about me and would use me for bonding. I'm disturbed that there's any part of me that wants option 2. It's disgusting, and I don't know why it is lurking in my mind like a poison. Who would want this? Who would want to choose relationships that hurt by definition and leave you alone? Yet I realize that right now, in my limbo, I am dragging my husband through this cesspool of self-examination, which is absolutely not fair to him. Believe me, he's too good of a man for this, and it breaks my heart that he believes in me. Yet, I refuse to let this define me as a person, although it is quick to happen on these discussion boards. That's why I'm back though, because I want to highlight that just because I didn't do it today doesn't mean I give up. I do want to find the strength to quit this. Really, reading these posts have been helpful. I am not here to boast. I would not wish this on anyone, nor do I think it's something worth boasting about. I'm here because I don't have anywhere else to speak this candidly about what I'm going through. My 1 hour of IC a week doesn't exactly cut it for the remainder of the week. Just to set the record straight, no, I didn't sleep with him today. I also don't have kids, since that seems to keep coming up. Breathe your sigh of relief and remind me how I don't deserve to spawn children and mess them up. 2. I'm starting to get exasperated with the direction this is taking. I actually do think I have underestimated the full destructive impact of my behavior. That was made apparent today, especially when I got to work and was dealing with on work-related stuff and was thinking, see, this isn't that bad, even though the conversation was sprinkled with inappropriate discussion. I was trying to justify it to myself and make it okay. As for what I'm getting out of this, I'll tell you that the tough discussion are forcing me to actually deal with this rather than pretend like it's not a big deal. I will also say that this evening I was triggered, for lack of a better word, and wanted desperately to contact but got on this board and read the posts instead. Consequently, I didn't. I know it's probably seen as not enough progress, but I'm glad I at least made that choice tonight. I wouldn't say I have been taken aback by this thread, but I have definitely had moments of reading things thinking, well, since I'm already an immoral person who is going to lose everything anyway, why stop now? I'm slightly saddened by the lack of hope on here, but I also get the whole once a cheater, always a cheater dynamic, and the fact that cheating is one of those things seen so egregious in our culture that I might as well have killed someone. I get that, because it's ruining families. I get it. It's just hard trying to make a change when I feel like this is all hopeless anyway. To also create the full picture as to why I haven't dumped the full truth on my husband right this second. It's because he's been working on his dissertation nonstop and it's due Wednesday. If I told him this stuff, I guarantee I would royally mess this up for him. I'm already messing him up enough as it is. I feel like he deserves to get his work done without me throwing a wrench in this part of his life, too. Right now, I'm sucked up into the fog and I'm having a hard time answering that. To be honest, I do know I can say that I think my husband is an amazing man. And on my wedding day, I knew he was someone that I confidently wanted to spend the rest of my life with and raise a family with. Today I'm even questioning if I want to spend the rest of my life with anyone or if I even want to have a family. I'm trying to figure out if this is depression, a fair fog, or actual desires to just be single. There is part of me that feels so guilty that I do just want to spare him the pain of my crap show. I'm trying to answer if this is a crap show that I can repair or if I'm just going to keep perpetuating it. And for his sake, I am trying to figure out where I am on that spectrum and ask him to divorce me so he can cut his losses at 28 in a marriage with no kids, no house, etc. I really am not hoping my husband catches me. I have been increasingly paranoid that he already knows it is still going on and is waiting for the right moment to drop the news on me that he's known all along. I'm making plans to come clean with him after he gets his work submitted on Wednesday because, as you have all said, it is much more decent that he hears it from me than discovers it elsewhere. My comment: she has accepted the fact that she is a cheater. She likes the excitement, and she will not stop. I hope she will tell the H and let all of this go. Story 2. I can't stop thinking about it. Everything was perfect. I was madly in love with him. He was my knight in shining armor. We were starting a life together, our own. We had both come from broken homes. We had both been hurt. We both agreed on what marriage meant. We were expecting a child. He was away on deployment. I was nervous and anxious and excited for him to come home and hold our beautiful baby for the first time. I knew it wouldn't be perfect, but I didn't expect the reaction I got. There was something different about him. I thought it was me, my body, my stretch marks, my weight gains. I knew I had changed. I was only 3 months postpartum, but I thought I would still be the most beautiful woman in the world to him. I had just given birth to his child. I held on to it. I tried not to let it out. I battled it along with postpartum depression, not wanting to stress him out further with the PTSD that he was dealing with. I thought it would get better, but that feeling in the pit of my stomach wouldn't subside, and I ended up snooping worse than I ever had before. I had told myself I wasn't going to do this with him. He was a better man than that. I caved. There it was, a picture of his friend, his gorgeous, perfect, half-bare friend. The emails shattered me. I was hardly mentioned. It was all about how he couldn't stop thinking about her, his crazy fantasy dreams about her. What if that might have been? I wanted to die. He denied it. He lied. He tried to cover it up. He made me feel like I should give up. Say you win. He was mean. He was distant. But when I showed him the door, he begged. He cried. Told me he loved me. I tried to get past it. I never did. He would get angry with me if I became insecure, if I had a bad dream. I told him I just didn't feel like it ended. It never did. My husband's EA lasted almost 3 years. We've been married just shy of 4. To make matters worse, the whole time I was forcing myself not to snoop. He physically cheated with strangers. How foolish I feel. How stupid. What is so wrong with me? Why would he do this to me? Why didn't he just leave me? To think that he let me touch him after he had been touched by whoever knows. To think that he could come home to me and our daughter after doing these things. He told me he would never hurt me. He told me after seeing the pain I went through with the picture on his phone, he would never do anything to hurt me. Now he wants me to trust him. I've heard this all before. The begging, the pleading. He says he's being transparent. Completely. I'm not sure. I am afraid I can never be sure. It keeps me up some nights. I have to hide to cry out of fear of exhausting him. I'm afraid I can never get to a point where I'll make him happy. I couldn't before. I'm so broken now. Even if I can trust again, I can never be intimate with him like before. The images of what might have happened play in my head relentlessly. I love to be in his arms. But when he hugs me, I have to pull myself away because my chest feels like it's caving in. I have cried far too long. 3 years he has put me through this. Nothing ever got better. It worsened. He continued to cheat. But it went from emotional to physical. From one woman to many people. His acting got better. He lies so well. Sick and twisted lies. He looked me in the eyes and it was so easy for him. I love him. I hate him. He has stolen from me. All this time. I loved him honestly. Wholeheartedly. How come he can rest at night while I lie awake? How can he laugh and joke with people? Well, I can't. I want to be alone. Just left alone. I feel suffocated. But at the same time, I want him near me. What has he done to me? Why? I am so sick of this roller coaster of emotions, but I don't know how to stop it. And I am jealous. I'm scared of men. Scared of bonding. But I want to feel what he felt. I want to feel that rush. He gave me that rush. Even while I was grasping onto whatever I could to save us. I defended him. I was still crazy in love with him. I contemplate an affair of my own. But I am far too insecure. 2 wrongs don't make a right. I can't imagine being with another man. The thought of it alone makes me ill. Because my heart still belongs to him. Why does he get all those things? And all I get is crazy. I don't feel the same about him. I know I don't. But I still can't walk away. My husband seems to take his anger out on everyone but who I believe he is really angry at. There were times I was onto him cheating. And when I tried to ask him if there were problems in our marriage, he verbally attacked me. Told me nothing was going on. It was all in my head and made me believe I was the only problem in our marriage. Even after finding evidence. Emails in black and white. Charges to a hotel that I was not at. He tried to make me believe it was all a setup to prove I snooped. A year's worth of emails and Craigslist postings. A setup. I realize he's manipulated me. And just realized this is known as gaslighting. I think it's to the point where even he believes his lies. But the one time I won't let it happen is when it's directed to our 2-year-old daughter. Now I realize that it may not be gaslighting with her. But I hiss taking his anger out on her and she suffers the same thing I suffered as a child. I could never do right by my father. She began having more and more accidents. My husband and I were baffled. Until one day, she called for me. We both got up and she spoke. No, I don't want daddy. I want mommy. When got to her, I noticed she wet herself. She had her head down and whimpered. Not a cry, a whimper. I told her she did nothing wrong. That everyone has accidents. I cleaned her up, reassured her again, and all seemed well. It didn't hit me why she didn't want daddy then. Tonight, H and I got into an argument. When our daughter asked for juice, he got up, angrily got her sippy, went to her room to give it to her and said to her, "If you wet the bed again, I'm not cleaning it up. You're sleeping in it." Just a child. She doesn't know why he is mad. Doesn't know not to be frightened. I was furious. I spoke. She will not sleep in urine if she has an accident. An accident. She would get a rash. And it's cold. She could get sick. No wonder she was scared for you to see she had an accident. She's just a child. She's only 2. His response. Just because I said it doesn't mean. I cut him off. You can take your anger out on whoever the hell you want to. But I'll be damned if you take it out on our little girl. I walked away. He walked away. What I do with this information? This is not a one-time thing. I realize even the best of us get angry. But he claims I never talk to him. However, when I do, he gets angry. When he has a problem. If I try to help, he gets angry. If I try to stay out of it, he claims I don't ever help him. If I ask for his input on what restaurant to go to, he claims I'm indecisive. If I make a decision, he seems annoyed. I don't know right from wrong anymore. I'm walking on eggshells around him. I'm trapped and there's no right move I can make. Tonight, I stepped out of the fog I've been trapped in. My husband, he's been abusive. And though he has attempted to make things right, he's still being emotionally abusive. He does not understand that 3 years of lying and cheating, and making me take the blame, and allowing me to apologize, well, it has taken a mighty big toll on me. I don't know who I am as a person anymore. I don't know right from wrong. I don't feel like I can do right by him. I am scared of him. Honest to God, scared of him. I feel like this trying. He's just another time, like all the times before, that he will trick me, and all this made me think about our past. How he allowed me to beg to be the wife he deserved and beg for another chance when I knew he had cheated. And he said it was okay. And he continued to cheat after telling me that we would work things out. After threatening suicide when I told him I'd had enough. And I was done. And letting me fall back into the insecure woman that took all the blame. He has been so hateful. I'm scared to accept his acts of love and affection because I am not sure if they are sincere or not. I don't know my own husband. How he grabbed my daughter's toy from her hand when he was angry at me, before she could walk, and threw it across the room. How he yelled at her and told her if she wet the bed, she would sleep in it because he wasn't cleaning it up. And so much more, so much more. It just keeps coming to me. All the things I've suppressed from my memory, it's starting to come back. I know a part of me wants to kick him out. And I know a part of me will still hope for him to come running after me and seek help to change. No matter what I do, I can't make him see the abuse he's putting on me and his daughter. He is sleeping on the couch, and I just can't calm my brain down enough to lay down on the bed. A part of me wants to wake him up and tell him to leave. He has options. He could go to his uncle's house, but I know this is bad timing. It's 1:50 a.m. and a part of me fears he would call the O and go crash at her place. He could just go to their house. He could if he wanted. What do I do? Do I let this eat at me until morning? Until our daughter is safe at daycare, and he has had a night of sleep? Or do I wake him up now and tell him to get out and come? I am no longer playing little mind movies in my head of me walking over to the couch on which he sleeps so soundly and hitting him over the head with a frying pan. I am not shaking over the urge to wake him, but I am not able to rest myself. I've gone without sleep a dozen nights since D-Day. I'm okay. I've already taken my pain med, and due to my rage, it seems to have a weakened effect on me. He is my wedding band. Now, this may sound odd, but the majority of the wedding band's worth is from the diamond in the middle. Though he refused, I told him it was okay to use that diamond. My diamond from another piece of jewelry I was holding on to. It's worth $4,000 alone. I'm afraid he might go on with his choice to pawn this ring. Do I find it and take it, or do I cut my losses? I also sold some of my gold jewelry from childhood today, because we are struggling. He is holding on to $425 of it. I have $100 of it. Should I grab the remainder from his wallet? The right thing for him to do would be continuing to support me and our daughter, even after I kick him out. But I fear he may not. I fear he may just cut me off of the account, or take any little money we have left in there. I have a place to stay until June. I have 2 months of school left, and then I have career development to take advantage of for help with job placement. I have options, but I also need financial help right now. He got me in this position. He said it was okay to go to school, then scolded me for not contributing to the account. I feel bad for expecting his help, but at the same time, I feel that it's the least he owes me after all this. I just don't want my daughter to suffer for her parents' mistakes. My father cheated on my mom the whole 21 years they were married, which leaves me wondering how long would he have allowed this to continue had I not found out. Until I got an STD, HIV, AIDS. I saw my mom beg my father, on her hands and knees. She got breast cancer and he moved on with his life expecting her to die. Started another family. Got a woman, my mother's friend, pregnant with my half-brother I have seen all of 3 times. He's 10. I was 3 youngest child. I dried my mom's tears when she prayed out loud for God to end her life. I was a child. I suffered so much from that. I became her. My 2-year-old daughter pat me on the back and spoke. It's okay, mommy. I love you. When my mom wished she would, told her I needed her. I loved her. I don't hate her. I know now how bad it hurts, but I can't let my daughter end up like me. My comment: your children learn not just from what you tell them, but from what they observe from your actions, based on your description of your childhood. You know that. You are making a very brave and powerful decision to stop that cycle and show your child how to handle and respect yourself. Know that you are doing the right thing, as hard as it is.